It's about the world we want to live in. And right now, the online world has become a real world for people, right? People are making money off of that world. They meet friends. They learn about what's happening in the world online. And so what we see is we should have online systems that mirror how we want to live offline.
You've been on the Forbes 30 under 30 list. You created a sustainable cricket protein food company, which is really incredible. And now, obviously, Bluesky, which has taken off, really grown and proliferated in a really incredible way. I'm curious, what inspires you to pursue the work that you actively involve yourself in?
Thank you, Brett. I honestly think that it's always about the people for me. For example, how I found out about eating bugs, for example, was my college roommate had sent me an article about why the world should be eating insects. And then Bluesky is actually something that happened because Jay, the CEO, and I are best friends. And so I think so much of my life has been just having really awesome people around me. And then we then get nerd swiped or really interested in a problem that we think can have a big impact in the world. And then getting to build it with your best friends is one of the coolest things.
Yeah, I mean, what's better than collaboration? Working with the people that you love to spend time with. Right?
Yeah, us sharing this mic.
Exactly. On that, you graduated with an undergrad with a psychology degree, which I think is very, thank you so much, with a psychology degree, which I think is very fascinating and very cool. I imagine that perspective is very helpful for you. How do you feel like your background helped form your tenets as a leader?
It's hard to know what would the counterfactual be if I weren't a psychology major. And I would say that it's probably partly the fact that I am just so fascinated by what motivates people, why they do what they do, that made me a psych major. But I think that so much of my career in terms of figuring out how to get people to eat bugs, to how to get people to use a new social platform, it comes from this first principles approach of understanding what people really want and need at their core. And then that affects so many different product decisions or how we approach a certain go-to-market strategy. For Bluesky, I think that it's not about us going and winning over every single user. What we learned is, users win other users over. And so it's how do you win over a whole community? Well, you find the center of that community, you win over that evangelist, and then they go and win over their community. So it's those types of thinking that comes from just observing how people work rather than trying to copy what somebody else is doing.
I think that's one thing that's so cool about a decentralized network such as this, is it allows users the freedom and transparency to choose an algorithm or a feed that best suits them at a certain point in their life or day. What was the genesis of coming up with this more unique platform in relation to what we see in modern day social media?
Thank you for asking that question, because I think it's about the world we want to live in. And right now, the online world has become a real world for people, right? People are making money off of that world. They meet friends. They learn about what's happening in the world online. And so what we see is we should have online systems that mirror how we want to live offline. And in the offline world, we don't live with one Supreme Court with 10,000 clerks that make every single decision, to that same Supreme Court being also the legislative branch and the executive branch. And so we're that doesn't make sense. Why live that way online where you're giving up all of your control and choice to a few group of people who they say they know best, but they're not serving you, they're serving advertisers. And so we believe that at the end of the day, if the online world is a new world, then we as citizens should have rights, and we should own our identity, own our data, and then be able to dictate for ourselves what kind of world we want to live in. And so that was the genesis of that idea, was all about individuality and all those rights. Yeah.
It's important to have some sort of bylaw or understanding of how this is going to operate and the transparency of how it will operate in the day-to-day.
Totally, because it affects businesses. BuzzFeed was really big until Facebook changed the algorithm, and then BuzzFeed, the business, changed overnight. And if it can do something like that to a big publisher, what could it do to your individual creators, right? And so you're happy with your platform if you feel like they are working for you, but the moment they stop working for you or advocating for you, you have no other choices.
Yeah. Piggybacking off what you just said, it's, we're living in a day and age now where there's a lot of disinformation. How do you feel like Bluesky combats misinformation, especially given the proliferation of AI and how we're seeing it so integrated into these social apps nowadays?
Well, I don't think that we have the full answer, and that's what we're developing with different users and different organizations like PolitiFact, for example. But I think that what we care about, one, is that we know that this is a problem and we prioritize it. So I think that's number one. I think number two, it's about all the different tools from product all the way to even just community engagement. I think we often think that it's just about technological change that can help make this better, but really it's about like gossip works in society for a reason, right? Like that helps us understand, who's in group, out group. On the whole, it really helps keep communities safe. And so we're looking at, okay, how are the different mechanisms that we're developing on Bluesky either helping or enabling communities to basically form better decisions for themselves? And that can be all the way from what I mentioned about verification systems, where it's not just a checkmark system, but we're also giving institutions like The Athletic the ability to verify users that they know, to then also having the ability for users to label posts and accounts themselves. So they can label things like as rude, or they can label movie spoilers, and that gives more signal to other users what's happening, and then they can create these labels that users can subscribe to without us, the platform, getting involved.
It's giving so much autonomy to the users to kind of create those guardrails in a fun and advantageous way to the general populace that is using the app.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. There's so many feeds to choose from. Do you have a feed that you use the most?
Yeah, I do. So there's a couple of feeds I love. The first one is quiet posters, which is basically like I get to hear from posters who don't post as much but have high quality content. And then instead of, I think, trying to go get my news across all the different platforms, I do use the GIF links feed in Bluesky, and that's where I get all my news in one place.
As young creatives looking for places to showcase and present their work, how do you feel like the decentralized network of Bluesky really helps give them an advantage?
For the big time creators who've already made it on other platforms, it's hard to leave because you've built up so much of that audience. But then it's for the creators who are coming up or starting out. I think that they're trying to play into games that have already been played and are not trying to help them win their viewers or fandoms better. And so the way that we think about it is for people who are starting out or who are trying to grow, Bluesky is the best place, because if you're looking at the like engagement to follower ratio, it's so much higher on Bluesky. You can have way fewer followers, but actually have a ton of people engaging with you because you have all these cozy corners for people to discover you instead of this one big status game that you have to compete with people who've already made it.
What is one fun thing about Bluesky that you feel like maybe an average person might not know about?
Yeah, my favorite feature that we launched on Bluesky is starter packs. And the way I like to compare it is like going to a party. And when you go to the X party right now, you're going by yourself, and then you're entering this huge town hall with like all the celebs and non-celebs all in one place. And it's really daunting. Like, we don't interact that way on offline. And so the way that Bluesky starter packs works is it's like creating kind of like a group to go to a party with. So when you come to Bluesky, someone's already curated a list of followers and feeds for you. And when you onboard through that starter pack, you come into that cozy corner of Bluesky rather than the big party. So it's like going to a party with a group of friends, hanging out with them first before like venturing out. Yeah. We have to allow for both the big parties and the cozy corners. And we think that all those spaces should exist.
You know, Bluesky was in the news yesterday. I'm just curious. You know, it obviously it was a mistake by the app to what seemed to be blocking JD Vance's account for a short period of time. But it opens a bigger question about partisanship and confirmation bias that exists right now on social media. I'm curious, how do you feel like Bluesky best effectively helps to bridge a gap in some way, shape, or form to invite conversations that are very hard right now for people?
What happened yesterday was our automated systems got lots of reports that this was an impersonation account because the account was JD-Vance-1. And so then the account was taken down by our automated systems for impersonation, and then within 20 minutes we restored the account and then verified that this is indeed the vice president. And so I think for Bluesky, we're very much a place for people who want to have healthy dialogue and debate across the spectrum. And I think having the vice president come is actually great and a show of like, okay, this is direction we want to move in. I think it's how the media chooses to interpret it. And so, I think there are very different headlines this morning depending on which news article you're reading. And so I don't think we want to fall into this framing by, I think, more US-centric framing of like a left versus right, because that's not true, first of all. And then Blue Sky is global. And so we welcome people from all over the world. And so that's on us to keep pushing that message. But I think that if we keep talking about news, sure, that's the framing. But if we talk about NFL, F1, all these communities that exist on Blue Sky, I can guarantee that people are across the political spectrum.
What is next for Blue Sky as a platform?
Yeah, love this question. And I think we want to be the place that you go for what's happening. And so we're just going to win over many more people, not just in news and sports, but also music, entertainment. Anybody who has news to drop, this is the place to be.
I love it, and very excited about the future of Blue Sky. With you as the COO, everything is going to be so great, and so excited for what comes ahead.
Thank you, Brett.
Of course, thank you.